true crime astrology podcast. I am Brittney.
And I am Eruca Rose.
And we are here with season 2, episode 3 for you guys.
Yeah!
And this is actually an episode you guys voted for. So we did an Instagram poll. For those of you who aren't following us on Instagram,
Get on there.
At
Dark Alignment.
At Dark Alignment, we try to give you guys good content, some interactive stuff, fun astrology.
Lots of true crime memes and astrology fun stuff.
Yes, we try to keep it fun on there and keep some constant stuff. We do serial killer. Is it the week or the month?
Week.
The week.
Weekly killer charts available on the Instagram.
It's like a nice little overview. It's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of, we are doing, obviously we're, for those of you who are watching the visual component of this podcast on YouTube, you will notice we are dressed up for Halloween, and it is a happy Halloween episode, so
Very creepy, weird one.
so creepy. We're giving you guys what you asked for, and today we're going to talk about Albert Fish. So, whew, get fucking ready for this one. Yeah. So I didn't go too wide on this one because it's a heavy hitter. There's a lot of information available about Albert Fish, which is nice, makes it really easy. I went with my good, reliable best friend Wikipedia for the details here. So kind of claim to fame about this case. His real name wasn't even Albert, which I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
So his name was Hamilton Howard Albert Fish. So he's got lots of names. It might be arguably too many names. I don't really know.
He doesn't deserve any names.
But I can tell you how he got that name, and it's a really interesting story.
Okay.
So we'll get there. So he was an American serial killer. He was a piece of shit. He was a child rapist and a cannibal. So why you guys wanted to hear about him? I mean, I guess because he's going to have a really, probably, hopefully, very interesting chart. But what a dick, you guys. Like, this story was really rough to do any in-depth reading about. And I cut out some parts because they were just too fucked up. If you'd like to do some deeper dives, please be my guest. I am only going to give so much. So some of his nicknames were Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, which is kind of fun, and the Boogeyman. So he's like the original Boogeyman here. He also reportedly bragged that he had children in every state and claimed to have around 100 victims. So major fucking trigger warning. Even the mild part is completely fucked. So like, it doesn't really stop at any point. It you know, even his young life, like, it's pretty rough, you guys. So buckle up. I'm gonna rush through this. We're really gonna like do a lot more heavy chart focus this episode, just because this story is a lot. So here we go.
All right.
Albert Fish, young life. He was born in Washington, D.C. in 1870. So this is a long ass time ago. Fun fact, his father was 43 years older than his mother. So his dad was 75 when he was born. So that's interesting. He was the youngest child, and he had 3 living siblings. So that's an important detail. And their names were Walter, Annie, and Edwin. So those are some cute names. I like those names. I feel like those names are making a comeback, which is nice.
They are.
He asked people to call him Albert instead of Hamilton for kind of an interesting reason. Albert was the name of one of his siblings who had died.
Oh.
So
very interesting.
He wanted that to be his name. And he spent most of his young life actually in an orphanage. So not a great start, because again, this is an orphanage in the fucking 1800s, like the late 1800s. Like, the conditions, as you can imagine, were probably atrocious. So I'm sure this was not fantastic. His whole family had a history of mental illness. Several of them had been institutionalized or had a serious mental health diagnosis, like hallucinations or mania. His mom was severely mentally ill too, so when his dad died, she actually had to put him in the orphanage. Just like she couldn't take care of him, and he was abused pretty frequently. And most of the kids there were whipped, so that was pretty hardcore. But apparently, he started to enjoy the abuse, and it was like some masochist kind of situation. So, and that started to like kind of arise around age 9. So this is an interesting time in development to kind of be associating that pain in like a pleasure sense. But his mother ended up getting him out of the orphanage by the time he was 12. And at this point, he's, you know, puberty hits and he starts engaging in his very first same-sex relationship. And it was fucking intense as fuck. So you gotta remember this, like, 12-year-olds. So Trigger, this is really, really hardcore. Him and his boyfriend enjoyed drinking urine and eating feces. Albert would go to the public bathhouses and like be a fucking creep there and like watch other boys get undressed in his spare time. So things are off to an amazing start for him, obviously. He really enjoyed harassing women too, which is kind of random. He would write fucked up letters to women he found in the classifieds and just like harass women, just like mail them stuff, like answer their ads and shit. So this is not going well. All right, next section. That was the young life. Here we go. Getting grosser every day.
Grosser every day.
So when he gets into his later teen years, Albert moves to New York and he becomes a sex worker, as you do. He mainly used this as a way to rape young boys. So he's a total piece of shit. Ooh. And his mom set up an arranged marriage for him. So this is like, again, 1800s. So he suddenly inherited a wife and 6 kids, so that's interesting. And also, she was 9 years older than him, so it's like almost it feels like he was like another kid in a way in this dynamic. I don't really know. He worked as a house painter. He continued molesting children, mostly boys younger than the age of 6. You guys, I hate it so much. Okay. Later, he says that he became obsessed with sexual mutilation after a visit to the local wax museum. So that's... I don't know what happened on that trip, but it didn't manifest well, we'll just say. He started committing some, like, kind of mild crimes in young adulthood. He was arrested and convicted for grand larceny, so some theft. Around age 40, he meets a 19-year-old young man, and they begin a sadomasochistic relationship. And this young man was confirmed as being what they called intellectually disabled. Ooh. So how the fuck is this consensual? Is kind of my biggest concern here, because like any type of relationship that any person wants to have, I feel like it's none of my business. I support all types of relationships as long as it's consensual. Like that's what it, to me, makes it okay. Like it needs to be consensual. So I'm not sure, but Albert ends up taking this poor guy to some random old farmhouse and torturing him for several weeks, even cutting off his penis and leaving him for dead.
Whoa.
And like he said, he just never knew what happened to him. And also, Albert, this fucking fucker, is still married, but his wife leaves him around this time for another man, which was an excellent choice. Like, get the fuck out of there and take your children. Oh my God, to think there were 6 kids living with him, like while he's so fucked up.
So terrible.
So like, that's good news, like, for her and the kids, bad news for everyone else, because whenever he was living by himself, he started having auditory hallucinations. So he would apparently, like, wrap himself in a rug and claim to be talking with John the Apostle. So it's not going great. He started to self-harm, and it's, like, a really fucking intense way. He was sticking long needles into his body, like, and leaving them there. Just, like, fucking leaving them there. So like in his stomach and like in his pelvis. Prepare yourself because it gets worse. Wow. It gets worse. Wow. It gets worse. It gets worse. He also hit himself repeatedly with a nail-studded paddle. He inserted wool covered with lighter fluid into his asshole and set it the fuck on fire. So, of course, this continues to escalate. he becomes obsessed with cannibalism and just starts eating like a fuck ton of raw meat. I'm telling you, when I say it like gets worse, it does, and like you don't think.
It's almost getting to the point where I'm like, I'm at the limit, you know, and like everything you say is just kind of like.
And this is only what I've included. I left a lot of shit out because it was so much that I was like, after I got done, I just sat there like this, like staring at the computer screen, like fucking what just happened to me.
Crazy.
Yeah, I had to go spend time with the people I love. I had to go see my best friend, or like one of our really close friends. Shout out to Brittney. She had to. I went over there and was like, help. Okay, so that was the mild part.
All right,
buckle the fuck up.
Okay,
this piece of shit continues to escalate. He is intentionally seeking out marginalized victims who are mentally handicapped or African American, because he assumed that they would not be missed, which is fucking horrible. It pisses me off. So he mutilated and murdered young children, primarily with a meat cleaver, a butcher knife, and a small handsaw. By the time he was 54, his delusions were out of control. He was saying that God was telling him to torture and mutilate children. He started like luring kids into his house by inviting them in for snacks and sandwiches, which is like, fuck you. What a dick. Like, I hate that so much. This is a time where people like really trusted their neighbors and stuff too, and like, I hate it. It's gross. He also started placing ads in the newspaper for workers, which is kind of Gacy-ish. He ended up killing the younger sister of one of the male workers he hired. And that's kind of what led to him getting caught. Like, he initially wanted to rape and murder the young man that he hired, but then he met the younger sister, and that became the target. So it kind of shifted to her. This is super fucked up, but I had to put some of this in here because he actually writes a fucking letter to this little girl's mother explaining what he did to her, and I'm going to read some of it. Okay. The whole thing's available if you want to read it. It's really horrible. He also talks about some of his young male victims, and then he goes into detail about her daughter, who was named Grace. Okay, so here we go. Right. Direct quotes. Here we go. A boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the body, and sold as veal cutlet, bought the highest price. John stayed so long he acquired a taste for human flesh. Okay, so he's like pretending to be talking about somebody else here. I forgot about that detail. Oh, okay. Like he wrote this letter like, my friend's crazed and here's what he did to your child. So he kind of writes it
in like third person, but with a different name.
Like with like an alias, kind of like a character almost. I forgot about that detail. So that's interesting. So he's acting like somebody else did this shit. Here we go. Whew. First he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass and of course the most meat on it. Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except his head, bones, and guts. He was roasted in the oven. Boiled, broiled, fried, stewed. The little boy was next and went the same way. Now he's going to talk about Grace, which is super, super fucking upsetting. Okay. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her on the pretense of taking her to a party. You said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house, and when we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. When all was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in a closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run down the stairs. I grabbed her, and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook, and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have, if I wished. She died a virgin.
Whoa.
That was the more mild portions
Horrifying.
of this letter.
I just detached for like most of your, most
As
of
a
that.
parent, like reading
I
the
didn't,
yeah,
didn't try to relate that.
Fucking fucked up. I just I immediately thought of that. I couldn't imagine my child missing and then reading a letter like that. Like it's fucking the sickest thing. Mm-hmm. So now to the next section.
Okay.
Someone stop this piece of shit. So that letter.
Yes.
That he wrote was delivered in an envelope that had a small hexagon-shaped emblem on it with the letters NYPCBA. And this stood for New York Private Chauffeurs Benevolent Association, which is really fucking random. So police, of course, did questioning at this company, and a janitor that worked there told them that he had taken some of the stationery home, but he left it at his old house when he moved out. So the cops put two and two together. Mm-hmm. They went to this location and waited outside until Albert came home, and he agreed to go with them for questioning. Mm-hmm. And then he pulls a fucking razor blade on the cops. So he's like cooperative one minute, pulling a razor blade the next. So they arrest him. He never denied killing Grace. He gave them vivid details about it and other murders. Here are a few quotes that really stood out to me of what he said to the cops. So, here we go. Again, this is terrible. We're almost done. We're almost there.
All right.
Hang in there, you guys. I know this is rough as fuck. Okay, here, direct quote. I took tools. A good heavy cat of nine tails. Homemade, short handle. Cut one of my belts in half. Slit these half in 6 strips about 8 inches long. I whipped his bare behind till the blood ran from his legs. I cut off his ears, nose, slit his mouth from ear to ear, gouged out his eyes. He was dead then. I stuck the knife in his belly and held my mouth to his body and drank his blood. I picked up 4 old potato sacks and gathered a pile of stones. Then I cut him up. I made a stew out of his ears, nose, pieces of his face and belly. I put onions, carrots, turnips, celery, and salt and pepper. It was good. So he's given some fucking recipes. Don't even know.
Wow.
Conviction. We're just going to keep moving.
Yep.
His mental state was a big focus leading up to the trial. His defense team was hoping that this would work in their favor since he was clearly fucked up. A very disturbed individual. He tried to argue that his cannibalism was a form of religious communion, which is garbage. That didn't fucking work. None of the jurors doubted that he was insane, but ultimately they felt that he should be executed anyway, which, yes, please.
I get it.
Please,
I get that.
Yes, 100% yes. Get rid of this fucking piece of garbage. So they found him sane but guilty. That is a conviction that still is holds today, which is interesting. Yeah. Whew, yeah, you can be insane and guilty. So, let's see. The judge ordered the death sentence. Yay. I don't normally say yay, but in this case, I'm very, very pleased. He arrived in prison in March of 1935, and he was executed in January of 1936 in the electric chair. He entered the chamber at 11:06 p.m. He was pronounced dead 3 minutes later. He was buried in the Sing Sing prison cemetery, and he was said to have helped the executioner position the electrodes in his body, which is interesting.
I'm sure.
His last words. I couldn't find his last meal. I fucking tried. I'm very mad I couldn't. This might have been back in the day before they did that, though. This was back in the 1930s. True. I don't know if they were really doing that for prisoners back then.
Who knows?
I tried to find the answer. Not sure what that was. Well, hopefully it was a real shitty prison meal. It was a piece of bread with mold on it. That's what I fucking hope. So his last words were reportedly, "I don't even know why I'm here."
It's very eerie.
According to one witness, it took 2 jolts to kill him. There was also a rumor that the chair was short-circuited because of all the needles that were still in his body, which that wasn't true, but still it's interesting. Okay, the end. That was fucking terrible. I'm so sorry. Y'all wanted that story, okay? So
it's a story. It's an intense story. I get it. I totally get it.
I'm so glad that it's over. It was not fun to read. Thank you for enduring that. Let's chart this fucking bitch. What a bitch.
Okay, so also I have to mention that while she was talking about the story, my computer glitched for a millisecond right after she mentioned the sentence.
Like it was like a direct quote. Was it his last words or was it?
You just finished talking about how he was pronounced like sane but guilty.
Oh, okay.
And like that bit, and then right as that happened, my screen went black for a millisecond and then came back on. I have his chart pulled up.
And that's a wrap.
And that's it. It's just like my computer never does that. Like maybe if I have too many things open and it's like having a problem, but it's fine. Like I wasn't doing anything, and it just randomly did that.
So
it felt weird.
There might
that's
be.
The thing.
I feel like, do I need to burn
after this? Yeah.
Which would definitely. I should have done it between. Okay, we'll just get through it while this energy is possibly here invading the space.
You know?
Right.
I don't know. He does have Uranus on his north node, and Uranus has to do with like technology, and that's what he's in like the eccentric nature and things like that, and so that is something he's into. So I don't know.
Right.
And Bolus and Aquarius, like
I'm excited to hear all about
extra
tacky.
Tacky.
Oh, I was like he was very.
But they didn't
tacky.
have the technology like this back then. But you know, even as a spirit, I feel like if he's sticking around, he'd be into the technology stuff. So, anyways,
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was about to hit record again.
And let's
all right, so his chart. We have him for May 19th in 1870. I don't have a time. He was born in Washington, D.C. Yeah, right? Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay. His sun then is at the end of Taurus. So he's Taurus, cusping Gemini, which is what the same...
as Brittney Norwood.
Same as our last murderer.
Yeah, the Lululemon murder was our episode 2. You can catch that if you missed it. But yeah, the exact same.
They have some other things in common, actually. Cool. They have an Aries stellium with, I'm pretty sure, it doesn't matter.
Anyway,
they have some other things in common. So his sun is there, and then his moon is in Capricorn, cusping Aquarius, and conjunct his south node, which is rough kind of placement to have. And then you have that placement on your chart.
Wait, what does that
in Libra? Moon conjunct south node. I'm talking about it in a second.
Okay.
And then we don't have a rising. I was about to talk about his rising. We also have a death chart. With an exact time and place, so that's going to be after this natal chart component section.
I'm excited for that one, just because he was so cryptic about, his final words and everything.
Cryptic is such a great word for him.
Oh,
I like cryptic.
Write it down. Cryptic.
So, the sun placement. He has the sun conjunct Pallas and Jupiter. Right there, so right away we can see he has this like innate nature of expansion and everything, and kind of this excessive such energy. Like with Jupiter there, you just want to. It can be a lot about personal growth and like expanding yourself and like kind of. It can almost be like a grandiosity of the self. But with Pallas also there, it kind of makes him really keen on like making those harsh decisions. Those kind of like, I was thinking like swords energy about Pallas.
Okay.
And, having a really difficult decision to make where, there's not a good answer. Either way, it's going to be something is uncomfortable or like bad. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place, like you double-edged sword kind of situations, and this is just kind of in his nature, so he's going to approach everything with that type of thinking. And there's like this coldness in just his own personality, but like an expansion of that because Jupiter is also
Expansively cold.
And then, yeah, kind of. And, like, decisive. Like, if he wants to do something, he's gonna, like, really, like, I kind of just got this visual of when you, like, if you edit, like, music or a video, or if you're looking at, like, a scale of any kind, you kind of, like a ruler, and you see all the notches, but you can't see what all the little notches would say, right? Because they only put, like, the, you know, the half inch and the inch and like whatever. It's like expanding that, like zooming in on it, and then seeing all the little numbers. So, like, how he, this is, like, really kind of gotten. So his personality, like, is kind of like this, like, magnifying thing of all these little details, trying to kind of weigh pros and cons about everything.
That's really intense.
I think it is kind of intense, and especially in Taurus, like, that there's a sense of self-worth and, like, wanting to, Taurus energy is ultimately here to deal with the material world. For the first time on the chart. So this is people wanting to materialize things that they desire and need in life. So his whole thing is going to be related to making things physical, along with all the other placements he has in Taurus. Actually, something really interesting about his chart, the majority of his planets are all in the first quadrant. So Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, like, almost all of his planets are there.
Wow.
And asteroids.
That's really interesting.
And Lilith. So it's a lot of that first section of life. It's very concentrated. There's a lot. It brings a lot of focus on the self in a really kind of childlike type of perspective. Because later in the chart is when you get, starting to work how working for others feels, and how relating to others feels, and how relating to the collective of the world feels. But that first section is just, like, early childhood type of conceptualization, if that makes sense.
Wow.
And behavior. So
that is very interesting, considering kind of how he.
I mean, and also the focus on young people.
Yeah.
And on that youth part of life. Is really, it's very concentrated again. It's
disturbing. Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to even think what I want to talk about next. So there is a quincunx over to Saturn in retrograde in Sagittarius. There's it's one of the few things he has outside of the first quadrant. Now Saturn in Sagittarius is kind of like this energy of, obviously Saturn is your structure and your discipline, and how you have to follow the rules to achieve your goals, and there's a lot about steps and doing things the right way and being strategic and working within your bounds, especially within the physical realm. But Sagittarius is a lot about these, like, journeys and travels, and how I'm going to expand on this, and excuse me. Having Saturn here kind of creates this limitation on how far he can go with things, but also how he methodically approaches all these things as if it's endless. Like he approaches these victims as if he could just do anything, and he doesn't feel like there is a limit to the things he could do. Like when he writes that letter, I feel like that type of mindset really comes through.
Yeah.
Where he's like, well, I could have done this, but I didn't. She died a virgin. He really felt like he could.
He could take it, like, as far as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And having that in retrograde really makes that internalized, and really.
That's a gross.
He doesn't totally have to work for it the way that others might. So. And having that quincunx's sun, and trine his Lilith, it's like. The quincunx is like a fixation. It's like a fixed relation of energy. Like, he's not going to be able to escape that in himself. And having it trine Lilith is a lot about self-empowerment, but also when you're kind of triggered or like you feel like you're kind of backed into a corner, which he did in his early life when he kind of established his mindset for his life. I don't feel like he really got too far past that. I don't think there was like a healing process he went through after being in the orphanage,
Right.
I don't think that anything was I don't think he was doing any type of inner work to reverse that. So having Lilith being brought up, whenever he wants to manipulate a situation to his favor, or when he's being kind of aggressive, he does have Lilith in Aries, conjunct Taurus, or not conjunct Taurus, cusping Taurus. So it's really that aggression type of energy, that fire of Aries mixed with the bringing into the physical of Taurus and having it be really material world, 3D based as well. So there's a trine there to that Saturn mindset. So it just kind of helps him go like above and beyond with, that he could. He feels like he could go as far as he wanted with that type of aggressive energy.
Got it. Like there's no limitations or bounds to what he can.
No bounds.
Yeah, that's
bounds.
fucked up. Okay.
Also, trying to his sun, he has the moon and his south node.
This is the placement you were saying that I have?
You
Or
do,
like
right.
something
So
similar?
generally when your moon is conjunct your south node, it can indicate issues with the mother. It can indicate issues with your past and really being emotionally focused on your past.
Okay.
It's a lot of general things this can bring up. And obviously the sign it's in will kind of change, so you don't have it in the same sign as him.
That's fantastic news for me.
It can make it where you don't like your internal self. When you have your south node conjunct the sun, it kind of makes you feel like, I don't want to be me. Where he has it conjunct the moon, so it's kind of like that feeling with your inner self and how you process emotions. I think that kind of came up in his last words as well. Is like, I don't even know why I was here. Like,
yeah, I don't even know why I'm here.
That's a very like moon conjunct south node in Capricorn type of thing. Capricorn being about like the structure of the world. And issues with the mother, like obviously he's got issues with his mother. He was in the orphanage and then she got him out. So I think that's that kind of trine to the sun, another way that manifested in his life. But also there's a huge issue with the mother having him put there at all.
And then the thing is, because obviously like she was mentally ill and having hallucinations while he was in there, I'm sure mental health care, we're talking the fucking 1920s and 1930s, mental health care was not great. So I highly doubt that she was fully rehabilitated and stable and medicated properly. So I don't, and he's already engaging in like pee-poop fantasy party time by the time he's 12 fucking years old. So I don't feel like his mother was able to provide any solid structure. This is based totally off of just assumption, but it doesn't seem like when she got out of an institution that she was ever able to like play a meaningful or like helpful role.
And the institution in a way also became a mother to him, having that moon in Capricorn. So a lot of his feelings,
oh my gosh, yeah,
Capricorn structure, institutions,
wow,
like also kind of like not legalities, but like the governmental structure can also be thrown in with Capricorn energy. And that's why right now with all of the things coming up in government and the transits all going through Capricorn have been huge and major, especially Pluto going through Capricorn. Oh my god. So with his moon here, moon and Capricorn people also can have a hard time accessing their emotions and that empathy feeling. Not always, it kind of depends on where their placements are, but especially with this conjunct the south node and like I'm sure when he was younger, this shows more emotion coming through in his younger life than in his older life. Even though his North Node is then in Cancer, which is a lot about emotion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's conjunct Uranus, which makes it so much more erratic and sporadic and individualized. Like, it's not, it's a really quirky, like, electric type of energy in that water. So it's not like a nice flow of water. It's almost, actually it's funny he died by electrocution.
Yeah, you said electric.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, back to what I was saying about the moon in Capricorn, it can almost feel like your emotions are buried in like a treasure chest at the bottom of the ocean. Like you'd have to like swim all the way there and find the right spot and like dig it up and open the chest, and it's kind of just like
it's a lot of work.
A lot of work
to like get
and
there.
like
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of it's not easy access. Like you're not really like chilling in that energy.
Yeah.
It can feel like work to get to your feelings. So he's already got all of that happening. There is a quincunx over to Ceres in Gemini. That can show your foundation for love and your self-love and how you feel comforted. And with that quincunx over there to Gemini, that shows like there is a dictate. It can also relate how your mother was, and having it connecting to his moon sign. I would like say that's definitely happening here, where he's almost fixed in his mother's lack of care for him, lack of comfort, nurturing. He's emotionally stuck with that, and stuck in how he felt comforted in the institution.
And you know what, like, okay, this is also wild to like kind of put this in here, but with the institution, with kind of like the sternness, the strictness, and kind of like a Capricorn, and then they used punishment, and punishment became a rewarding feeling for him, and I'm like, it's kind of like ties into all of how he internalized all of this during such a critical point in development, and like relating that to a stable, like, I feel stable when this is happening.
Right. And that quincunx, it shows a lot of that to Ceres.
That's like
that's
really
what I was thinking too.
Okay.
And the moon moves pretty quick, so like it's not like everybody born around this time was gonna have the same placement at all. So on his moon, he also has a square over to that Lilith placement. So there's a conflict with him, how he wants to, like I mentioned, that Lilith energy presenting earlier. As emotions come up for him, it's going to create this internal conflict between that and the Lilith energy coming through. So there's there's not a lot of healing going on with him. So there's definitely part of him getting aggressive and making that those internal thoughts like actualized. And him acting up off of those feelings.
Ugh. It's awful. It's so fucking awful. I wish we knew his rising.
I know, me too.
Do you have any guesses, like, on what you like?
Maybe if I saw him, because some of your rising shows through in your face.
Ooh, you don't want to. He's gross.
Is he gross?
I mean, I guess
I'm gonna see him when I post.
Yeah, I guess he just looks like an old guy. I guess it's like if you didn't know, but we do know, so I can't. Yeah, I guess he just looks like an old guy. I don't know.
Just looks like an old guy.
Yeah. Okay, well, I want to like hear your thoughts on it after you see what he looks like.
Maybe on Patreon.
Yeah, we'll look at a picture and then
I'll try to guess his rising on Patreon.
Okay, yeah. So if you're not already on our Patreon, we've got some good content on there. So check it out. We're doing bonus content for every episode on our Patreon.
We are. You could get on there.
Get on there. That's cool. Okay. Anyway.
Also with that moon in Capricorn, I can feel some of that arranged marriage situation.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the fucking arranged marriage.
I made a note.
God, among all the other things, like that detail got so lost for me. Like very, like that was. It was overshadowed by like the 900 horrible things he did. So.
And having that relate to the mother, setting up the arranged marriage, and again,
I forgot that she did set it up. I'm glad that you remember more about that than me, because I kind of dissociated during that story because it was awful.
You're good.
This robot going through it.
Oh man. Alright, so what else do I want to talk about next? There's so much here. So
I know, you're talking about basically doing like shadow type readings. Like,
well, I want to focus on this Aries thing he's got going on.
Okay.
So in Aries, the first thing on his chart from the start from Aries, since we don't have a rising start from Aries here. So we have let's see, Vesta and Chiron conjunct. And Vesta is what you're devoted to in life. It's a lot about how you find your kind of morals in life as well. I've kind of picked up that since that's what you're so devoted to, it can determine how you weigh things
like
in
your
life.
value system, your internal value system. That makes a lot of sense.
It can also show interest and just all of that. So having this conjunct Chiron, which is about vulnerability and trauma.
Oh no! He's
so
devoted to his trauma?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yep, entirely. And there's a quintile from that over to his south node of moon, which I was just talking about, which is where I kind of wanted to branch over here. So all of that we were saying, how he emotionally tied to that institutionalism, is repeated. It's a quintile is like a creative aspect, so it's like that emotional connection to the institution made him like creatively think on his own morals and his own personal traumas and vulnerabilities, and he's just kind of creating off of that energy, if that makes sense. There's also another quintile over to his Mercury, which is in Gemini, and having that quintile there as well makes him creatively think and plan and communicate on this too. So he's not really afraid to like talk about it. Obviously he made friends and did these things with people as well, and so it's not like this deep dark secret he didn't want to talk about. This was something he was like, Gemini is chatty, and Mercury rules Gemini. Like he's like.
Because even at the police, he was just like, yeah, here's what I did. And he liked writing the letters about it. Like, he enjoyed
especially writing it. That genuine communication. That's coming through for him.
Yeah. And this was at a time where that was the best way to get something out publicly. Because, I don't even know phones. Actually, no. Phones were invented in 1876.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Why do you know that?
Because it's in a Reba McEntire song. I'm not kidding.
All right.
Anyway.
I love it.
Reba teaches me history. It's fine.
Hey.
I'm dead serious. You asked.
I did. I'm glad that I asked.
I couldn't seemed really intelligent for a minute.
I'm like, wow.
Whoa, she's such a
What about the
history buff.
typewriter? What about
those I'm not
the
very
cotton gin?
Eli Whitney. That's all I remember.
Okay.
In some year that was prior to 1876.
I feel like Eli Whitney's kind of a cool name.
It really is. I'm
feeling it right now. All right.
Eli's a good name. If you're going to have a son, consider Eli.
Mm-hmm. I knew a girl named Ely, too. E-L-Y. I thought that was a cool name. Ely, if you're listening, I like your name.
Hey, that's cute.
All right, so here we go. Next in Aries, he has his Venus.
I was going to ask where his Venus placement was, but I had a feeling you were going to get there, so I tried to just be really patient, but I impatiently wanted to ask that, probably 10 minutes ago.
Probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder where his Venus is. It, popped into my mind, and I was curious. So more Aries energy. He's got a lot of fire going on.
He does.
Fire
burning on the Venus floor. So, I wanted to pull this up. So, when Venus is in Aries, it's a more aggressive, fresh, outspoken, lively type of relationship and value energy. So it again helps to determine what you value, what you find worthy in life, what you like looking at, where you feel that kind of loving energy coming through. Can also show like how you want to deal with like partnerships and people, relationships, like not even just romantic ones, like friendships and stuff like that. A lot of, you know, he's gonna be a lot more brash in these relationships, impetuous actions. He's gonna be a lot more likely to act out of this heightened, like bold and fiery feeling of independence. Out of priority on this independence, though, you can expect acts of courage in his interpretation of what would be courageous and strength to come through. Also, he might not hold emotional grudges as much.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's possible.
But his Mars is in Taurus, so maybe a little bit more than. Anyways. Let's see. You know, he has this want for like a thrill, that enthusiastic energy. So I also kind of picked up on that on the way he wrote the things that he did.
He was very excited about it.
Yeah, it was a thrill. You know, there was something fun about it to him. Like it was almost like a game. Like, oh, I hid in the closet until she came in, and like, that's not how everyone would approach that situation. That's that Venus and Aries, that Aries stellium coming up. Like, oh, I'm gonna make this playful.
Yeah, he was like, oh, she's out there picking wildflowers. I called her through the window, and then I hid in the closet.
Yeah.
Ew!
Yeah, that's Aries energy.
God, it's grosser. It's
making it like an activity, grosser. Like a physical activity, but a risk. Aries wants that risk-taking, that like compelling kind of like stuntman type of want, like stuntman. That initiation energy, that starting of projects and all of that. So that's just some of that Venus Aries energy. It's going to be something that he wants more in life. He also has Neptune next in Aries. Next up in Aries, we have Neptune.
Wow.
At 20 degrees, 41 seconds. Neptune in Aries, it's a lot of that, again, brash energy coming through in his dreams and intuition, that kind of subconscious-y, dreamy space in his mind. So you're literally dreaming and fantasizing about that physicality, aggression, warrior type of energy that we've been talking about. And there's squares from his Neptune over to his life path, north and south node, and in turn also his moon and Uranus, since those are conjunct the north and south node. And this brings a lot of his main, whenever there's something square in the nodes, it's kind of like, that's like your story arc in a way for your life, like your destiny.
Yeah.
It almost kind of visually looks like that on the chart too. So this is one of your main life challenges and like conflicts that you go through in your life.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So you have this main challenge that you're going through, and generally you do go through it and like become at peace with it at the end, if you acknowledge it at all. I don't know if he is or not. This would be about him dealing with the difficulty of his aggressive delusions and things like that.
That's not great.
No.
Okay.
But that's like an overarching theme of his life. And when you look at the story of his life, that really is how it comes through.
Wow.
Wow. A big indicator of how he's going through his life path. His destiny.
His destiny.
Yes. And next we have Lilith there, which we already talked about.
Yes. So
also from Uranus, or also from Neptune, there's a sextile over to Mercury, which again indicates more strategizing and planning, thinking and communicating the delusions. Moving into Taurus, we have Juno right there at first. There is a quintile, a creative aspect between Juno, what you're committed to, what he's committed to Uranus and his north node. So he's really committed to materializing and getting what he wants with where he's going in life. You know, like with that Uranus energy and moving forward with his life path. Let's see. He's very committed to what he's gonna do.
I hate it so much, and it seems like he had good follow through with everything he did too,
Taurus
which was kind of
generally
interesting.
does.
Yeah.
You know, it's that steadfast, like I'm gonna keep this going.
Yeah.
And then
next, he may go for weeks at a time, which is like that's some like patience. He had like a lot of patience.
And that also comes through with conjunct this placement is Mars in Taurus. So Mars is the ruler of Aries. So again, that energy coming through, that like where he finds that inner fire in himself and that motivation, especially motivation to make something physical and materialize, being in Taurus especially. Kind of what like turns him on, gets him going, or like makes him want to do something. Passion is of Taurus, which is him getting the material of what he wants. It also makes him approach getting those things in that steadfast nature, that patience that you're just talking about.
Yeah.
He's very committed to doing that with Juno there. Very committed to doing that. And right there with it is Pluto at 17 degrees Taurus. And Pluto, with all of this going on, creates a... I'm trying to think of how I'm going to phrase it.
Okay.
So, you know how you're talking about how he was like sexualizing some of this stuff as well. So like he kind of gets like fired up about the power dynamics of it as well. So
there's definitely a sexual component because it's like he enjoys being punished, but he also starts to like enjoy more so being in control. Like he kind of seems to enjoy the sadist and the masochist type of role because it seems like he's into both, but
that's what gets him motivated.
Later in life, he flips more to the sadist role in it, and like the one that is like the, you know, the dom. You know, if we're talking that type of like BDSM lifestyle, which he did engage in. So
unconsensually.
It sounds very unconsensual, especially with that 19-year-old that was like, you know, considered not completely mentally.
Right.
You
and
know,
he would target people that he knew that he could have the power over and things like that. So, you know, Pluto...
He wasn't taking a submissive role in those relationships.
No, and also that interest in death in general firing him up. You know, Pluto is literally death. It's death and rebirth, change, like transitions, transformations, things like that. And having that be so physical in Taurus... is really telling. Let's see, I had a note on those or anything else. And that ruthlessness, because Pluto is pretty ruthless.
He's
he's ruthless in his actions.
He's like drinking blood of children. It's fucked up.
It is very aggressive, physical. Really playing into those dreams he's having and how he feels emotionally connected in life and where he's emotionally based. It's a lot. There's a square over to Pholus, which makes a conflict between that and how extra it can get, like out of control it can get.
He definitely gets out of control.
Yeah, he gets out of control on a broad scale in Aquarius. And next in Taurus is Pallas, which I mentioned when we were talking about his sun sign, and then his sun is right there as well at the end. Entering Gemini, he has Jupiter, which I mentioned. I can also bring out an expansion of that Gemini energy of focusing, you know, being able to multitask and think about a bunch of different things and communicate about a bunch of different things, having that kind of two-faced type of thing going on, being able to compel different people and play into different parts of your personality with different people.
Right, he was able to manipulate small children. I'm sure that he was manipulating other adults because people weren't necessarily looking at him going, stay away from that guy, he's a fucking creep, you know what I mean? Like, nobody was, like, really putting out the fucking red flag alert, like, don't hang out with that guy. Like, you know, like, small children were like, oh, okay, he's gonna make me a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like, and
Gemini can be fun-loving, you know? Like, so can Aries, that kind of playful type of energy is there as well.
So gross.
Oh, God. And then Gemini, or Mercury there, like I said. Ceres there, like I said. And then moving into Cancer, we see his North Node in Uranus. Going all the way around up to Sagittarius is that Saturn placement. Capricorn has South Node in Moon, and Pholus in Aquarius. That's everything on his chart.
Wow, you did the whole thing.
There's some aspects here and there I probably missed, but like
that was a really thorough chart. Like so.
Really, they're just he's very cryptic and delusioned and willing to act on it.
You want to do his death chart?
Yes. Yep, we're going to do death chart now.
Woohoo! I'm enjoying like the extra chart stuff. Chart. I really love the chart.
Charts. Nerve charts.
I love charts.
Alright, so
why do I keep saying that?
I really like his death chart. So I have it pulled up now and on Synastry with his natal chart. So when he was born and when he died.
Yeah.
Overlapped. So right away, I'm seeing this moon square moon situation, which is again like that all of this is that's moon moves quickly. So that's not by coincidence. And having him confront the conflict of his own emotional self in that moment when he died, I think that really comes through, like I said, with his last words. And that comes through again, confirmed with those last words. And those difficult type of decisions that he made in his life, those Pallas type decisions. There's Pallas right on the moon when he died. Or the moon was right on Pallas, I guess, when he died. You might want to say it that way. So confronting that nature in himself, since he has Pallas conjunct his sun, like I said at the beginning. I know I've said a lot, so I'm trying to
I'm loving it though. This is great.
And then having said that, there's a quincunx from Pallas on his death to Pallas on his natal. So it's fixed. He's stuck in that energy there. It makes me kind of wonder how like spirits, like if you're entering this world, this is a
yes, let's go down the rabbit hole.
Yes. You're entering this world through your natal chart,
okay.
And you take on the energy of the moment you were born, essentially, and then as above, so below. Those skies reflect that, right? So, going on with that thought, if you leave this world, you're starting. If you believe that you start another type of life or another type of form after that, so your death chart would be the birth of your spirit chart, right? Your ghost chart.
Ooh, your ghost
chart.
Like,
you know, it's kind of like a ghost natal chart. You know, it kind of makes me think like, is he? And people talk about how spirits stick around that had a traumatic death. It's almost like that they were stuck with that energy as a ghost. So like maybe if he's still a ghost hanging out, these are the things that he's stuck with as a ghost.
Challenges.
His ghost challenges.
His ghost life. I hope it's fucking hard.
Ghost life challenges look really difficult.
Good.
So.
That's as they should be. Good. I'd be really pissed if he had like this glorious ghost life. Like, go fuck yourself. Okay. Anyway.
You know, they're trying to to a Aries, so he might kind of
get a good ghost life.
Learn to deal with some of that foundation for love issue he has going on. But anyways, back to his death or ghost birth chart.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Thanks for going down that thought process with me.
I like it. I think it's good.
Okay, so the sun when he was born was conjunct his moon. Like it was right there. So the sun was in Capricorn, right where his moon is. So it was almost like he had to face, like there was, where the sun is in transit on your chart, it's like a spotlight's being shining on,
shooed. The spotlight was shooed.
There's a spotlight shining on that part of your chart, and like illuminating that and bringing focus to that. So there's a lot of, he's literally having to face and bring a spotlight to his internal self and his emotions and how all of that affected his life. And again, a square over to the moon from that because it's conjunct the moon. Emotionally having to deal with it and confront it. And a square also being to Lilith, which is where I feel a lot of that initiation of making those thoughts physical came from. Getting aggressive. Like him facing that challenge of his life. Let's see.
He's terrible.
I
don't like him at all. Alright.
Let's see what else on here.
What else?
His north and south node are flipped, so on here. So his south node is in Capricorn, and that's where the north node was when he was born, and vice versa. So his north node is in Cancer, and when he died is when the south node was in Cancer.
Interesting.
So his life path, flipped with his death. It's really interesting. So it's almost like if you were going into this kind of ghost realm, it's like he has to go back and redo everything backwards, go back and review everything he did in
his life in review. He's got to watch a fucking.
It's kind of like undoing. It's almost like undoing it all. Yeah. It's kind of. Anyways. What else do I want to mention on here? Screen chart. Keeps timing out.
Oh no. I hope it's not anything creepy happening to it.
The veil is thin now. The veil is thin.
Yeah, it is.
Alright, there's Lilith transit. The death chart Lilith is trine his moon and the death sun and his natal sun. Breaking this grand trine. So again, it's like this empowerment of the others coming through, being in Libra. I feel like I'm just saying a lot of sayings. Is this making sense?
I mean, the trine is like the energy's flowing really well between these energies.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I feel like I know things sometimes, and then I'm like, do I? When you quiz me, I'm like, maybe I don't know stuff, but I feel like I do. I do-ish. I'm getting so much more educated as we go.
You are getting so educated.
I know. It's like, one day I will know all things. Eventually. Someday. Maybe. Someday. Okay, anyway.
Let's see. Do you have any questions?
I mean, I guess it's just, he's so fucking horrible. What would you say is the worst thing for him at his death? Was there anything that he, what was his biggest pain point? Can you see anything that's just I guess maybe it was facing.
Absolutely, yeah. Everything I just said, I feel like is really tied into that, and he really just had to face everything that he did internally. Those are major squares and reversals that I mentioned.
So that does seem
I don't even know how to make that sound, or I don't know how to make that sound as important as that is. To have it show up like that is really insane. And he also has the sun in the 8th house, the death house of his death chart. So I thought that was really interesting as well. It's literally him, the death of himself in that moment. And the houses change every minute. So for that to be in the 8th house is very clear.
I just want to know and make sure that he definitely suffered a lot. I want to make sure that
I feel like his soul suffered.
Okay, that's what I want to happen because that's what he deserves, because his crimes were so fucking fucked up. That was really my main question, is kind of what was his biggest suffer moment? Because let's just focus on that.
Pluto is actually also conjunct his north node. Pluto again being death, transformation, North Node being where you're going in life, that, I mean, not that we're not all headed towards death, but him being the nature of his death,
right,
being indicated by that ruthless Pluto energy of like getting rid of all that does not serve.
He did not serve anyone. I'm so glad that he was gotten rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, society. Like, good job, 1930s society.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I'm sure there was a lot of other fucking horrible things going on back then.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good thing, executing this fucking
I'm glad
asshole.
that he was executed.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
And
I'm glad he was caught.
And caught, and oh, this is just so terrible.
Because a lot of these types of crimes that were happening around this particular time frame were unsolved, and like this is definitively like these crimes have been attributed to him, and he definitely was gotten rid of, and that's fucking good. But it's still really horrible. So, is there anything else you have on his chart?
Vesta was in Pisces at the time. It was about to conjunct his Vesta in Aries. It was at the end of Pisces. I was just looking at that and thinking about how when Vesta is passing through a sign, it kind of makes you more, kind of more devoted to that energy at that time.
Okay.
A lesser way than your natal Vesta, but it kind of gives you this air of wondering and being really in tune with whatever sign Vesta is going through at the moment. Being in Pisces is a lot about your ethereal soul type of journey.
Okay.
So more contemplating about his role in life in general, and feeling like this is just such a vast experience, like purpose, why.
I don't even know why I'm here. Yeah, once
yeah,
again, that's
more
like
of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just seeing a lot of things reflected like that on this chart. So if any of you feel like pulling this up, it's pretty easy if you just look up Albert Fish death. All the information's there for you to plug in.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even though I couldn't find his last meal, I hope his last meal was a bag of dicks, because he fucking sucks and I hate him so much. Actually, he probably would have enjoyed that, so no, never mind. He does not get it. No dicks for him.
And
So
speaking of last words, we're going to do a quick little video for you guys
Oh.
about people's last words.
we
right?
are.
Yep.
We are going to do that. It'll be a Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a bunch of cool shit on Patreon. If you're not there, check us out. You can also find us on Instagram at Dark Alignment.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me at Britt_Oakley on Dark Alignment, at Eruca Rose on
For me.
Instagram. I think I said on Dark Alignment, which I am, but that was also my Instagram handle. So
You know what we're saying.
you know what I'm
You
trying
know what
to
we're
say.
saying.
Like, bear with me. And now that you're all very severely traumatized, you guys chose that story. I feel like maybe we should do more polls and like let you guys tell us what you want to hear. Like, we'll give you some choices. So check us out. Stay connected with us. Continue to love yourselves and keep being super fucking awesome. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
And be spooky.
Let us know if you're on YouTube in the comments what you're dressing up for this year.
Yes. What are you
you're
gonna be?
dressing up as? Yeah.
Yeah. Tag us in your fucking Halloween shit, and
We'll
if you're
love
gonna
it.
dress up like
We
a
will
serial
love
killer,
it.
we'll share it on our shit. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. Peace out, y'all.
Bye. Bye.